We're in Washington, D.C. at the United States Navy Memorial on Pennsylvania Avenue, right between the Capitol and the White House, for the first day of issue dedication ceremony of the Distinguished Sailors 44-cent Commemorative First-Class Stamps. The stamps pay tribute to 4 sailors who served with courage and distinction during the 20th century. William S. Sims, Arleigh A. Burke, John McCloy, and Doris Miller. Distinguished speakers at the unveiling were Congressman Chet Edwards, Texas 17th District, Congresswoman Bernice Johnson, Texas 30th District, Director of the Navy Staff, Vice Admiral Samuel J. Locklear III, President of the U.S. Navy Memorial, Admiral Edward K. Walker, Jr., Naval Historian Dr. David A. Rosenberg, Postmaster General John Potter, and Assistant Secretary of the Navy Juan M. Garcia III, who delivered this speech.
Thank you, folks. Good morning. It's great to be here in this beautiful cathedral of naval service. And on a very quick personal note, a long time ago as a young Lieutenant JG, I proposed to my wife up there on the street level on the map of the world out in front of the building here, which prompted my favorite line of all time. The next day when we announced this news to her mother, she said, "Denise, you picked such a nice young man for your very first husband." I love that line. On behalf of the Department of the Navy, I'd like to thank the U.S. Postal Service for their daily work for the country, for their rich record of hiring veterans, for the invaluable service they provide our forward deployed sailors and Marines. To this day, anyone who is deployed will tell you there is no more important a boost to morale than a care package sent for home. And for today's issuing of the Distinguished Sailor Stamps, they've made 4 great choices. 4 great choices that capture the impossibly broad cross-section of Americans that have come together throughout our nation's history to defend it. A Canadian-born scholar like Admiral Sims, who would hold degrees from the Naval Academy, Columbia, Williams College, Bates College, serve as president of the War College, earned a Pulitzer Prize. Petty Officer Miller, an African-American farm boy from Central Texas, who sent his paychecks back home and who was relegated to non-combat duty status at the time due to the color of his skin, but who fought ferociously on that day that will live in infamy. A Swedish kid from out west in Colorado, whose name, Arleigh Burke, would become synonymous with surface warfare excellence. And a New Yorker, whose love for the sea led him to enlist in the Merchant Marines when he was 15. Lieutenant Commander McCloy would go on to become one of 19 Americans to earn our country's highest honor, the Medal of Honor, twice. This wildly diverse group is tied together by their love of country and their fearless courage under fire. It's a diversity reflected in today's Navy mission itself, a Navy that can simultaneously provide a state-of-the-art ballistic missile defense over the free world from the decks of its ships, but also take out 3 pirates with 3 bullets. It's a Navy that can simultaneously wage deadly war against terrorists on 2 fronts, while on the other side of the globe, send 22 ships, a nuclear aircraft carrier, and 2 Marine expeditionary units to provide humanitarian assistance in Haiti. It's that diversity, and it's never been stronger than in your Navy today. I want to close with a short anecdote that I think is appropriate. In 1975, in the immediate aftermath of the Vietnam War, the LST USS Barber County rescued a sinking Vietnamese fishing trawler off the coast of that country. The trawler contained some 400 Vietnamese refugees, boat people, if you will. 400 scared, hungry, desperate people. And among them was a 5-year-old by the name of Hung Ba Lee. Well, 35 years later, relations between our countries have evolved significantly, and a few weeks ago, an American guided missile destroyer actually paid a port visit to Vietnam. The destroyer was the USS Lassen. And when the Lassen pulled into Vietnam, its commanding officer, its skipper, was Commander Hung Ba Lee. Yeah. That kind of opportunity only happens in one country on the earth. It only happens in one Navy, the kind of Navy that has room for heroes from wildly different backgrounds like Sims, Miller, Burke, and McCoy. I'm proud to be part of it, proud to be with you here today. Thank you.
My hometown and Congresswoman Johnson's original hometown of Waco, Texas, takes special pride and being the home of our native son, Dory Miller. I was born 8 years to the day after Dory Miller finally gave his life to country in the Pacific after his ship was attacked by a submarine. I regret that I never had the incredible privilege of meeting him, but I will always be inspired by what he did for our country. At a time of a segregated America, he reminded all Americans that African Americans in fighting overseas would stand up for the freedoms for Americans that sometimes they were denied right here, back at home.
But it is time to give honor to a man who saved this nation from being invaded by the Japanese. And so, thank you. This is very, very meaningful to Waco, Texas, and very meaningful to this nation. And I will never forget his story for as long as I live, because I feel that we have been fortunate not to have war on our shores because of our military and because of a man who was supposed to have been mopping the deck, who saw his commanding officer get shot and grabbed his rifle and shot those planes down that were attempting to invade this country. I have recently written the president to bring that to his attention, because he wasn't born either when that happened. I was. I remember as a little girl, my father took me with him as he went through the neighborhood to collect money to get him a gift when he came home shortly after Pearl Harbor. And he got him an ID bracelet and had his name engraved, and that excited that neighborhood. Just imagine that, over 60 years ago.
I didn't know any of them except Admiral Arleigh Burke. I had the opportunity at the early part of my Navy career to have him as a mentor as he entered the later stages of his year. And besides being a prior Chief of Naval Operations, a distinguished warrior in World War II, I mean, truly a national hero, he was also quite the man with a good joke. And I can only imagine if I were sitting with him today and he was looking at that stamp, he would probably say, well, Sam, they got my wrong side. They got the other side better. And then he would probably say, and I just can't imagine what it's going to be like for tens of thousands of people to be licking me on the back of the head.
Today was really a special event for us. We've had this stamp series for about the last 10 years or so, where we paid tribute to some distinguished soldiers and then some distinguished Marines. And this time around, we were able to tell the story of 4 really great sailors that have served our country and served it very well.
I'm Admiral Ted Walker. I'm the president and CEO of this Navy Memorial, and you're in the Heritage Center part of it. And we were privileged today to honor these 4 Navy veterans who represent so much of what we stand for: honor, courage, and commitment. And these men represent 300 and some thousand active duty people, and about 11 million Americans have served in the sea services in the past 235 years. And they are clearly representative of the virtues and the commitment and the sacrifice of so many to keep this land free. And we had the great privilege of having this ceremony here today, thanks to the Postal Service. And we hope that all Americans will come visit us here, Pennsylvania Avenue, America's Main Street, and we're halfway between the Capitol of the United States and the White House. And we are the Navy Memorial to honor your sons and daughters and anyone else in your family who served in the sea services of the United States.
I'm Kristal Hart reporting from the U.S. Navy Memorial, Washington, D.C. Customers have until April 6, 2010 to obtain first day of issue postmarks. Place the Distinguished Sailor stamps on envelopes addressed to yourself or other recipients. Place them in a larger envelope addressed to Distinguished Sailors Stamps Special Cancellations, P.O. Box 92282, Washington, D.C. 20090-2282.